Hello everyone, and welcome to SUNUP. I'm Lyndall Stout. You can definitely tell it's springtime here at the Oklahoma State University Sheep Barn. Lambing season is always a wonderful time of year for the storied sheep program. We'll take a glimpse into that past a little later in the show. But first, peanuts, and a major new development for growers in this part of the country in the form of a new variety. We take you to the 2014 Oklahoma Peanut Expo. This group knows what it takes to grow peanuts, and every year about this time, they get together to learn about the latest research, crop management, and this time, the ins and outs of the new Farm Bill, straight from the U.S. House Agriculture Chairman himself. Mike Kubicek is the executive director of the Oklahoma Peanut Commission.
This was an excellent year. Our quality of peanuts were exceptional, had a near record yield, well over 3,800 pounds per acre, and we kind of went back to our roots, so to speak. Over half of our crop were Spanish peanuts, which was the peanuts of old. And then we also grow the runner type peanut and the Virginia type peanut, the ballpark peanut, and they each represented about 25% of the acres.
But it's the Spanish peanut that's getting the most buzz right now because of this, the newly released variety called Olay.
It's a high oleic. It's a heart-healthy peanut, so this is good for the consumer, and it's exceptionally good for our producers, because that's what the industry is looking for. Folks who make the payday candy bar, they want the high oleic Spanish peanut. So we'll be ground central for production of this new peanut here in the Southwest, both Oklahoma and Texas, but we're really excited about this variety. It's high yielding and disease resistant, so it's a total package.
For years, the variety was known as RSOC S140 1OL. USDA peanut breeders based in Stillwater, Oklahoma, developed it.
I received it at a very early developmental stage, what we call 2 generations away from the original cross. So from there on, we began to put these individual plants in the field and increase the seed from those to assess their performance at that level. Once they reached about 4 or 5 generations away from the original cross, we start having enough seed to actually assess the performance of what we call a breeding line. And so we had several breeding lines that were sister lines from the same cross, and Olay emerged as the leader from that group because of its disease resistance and potential for good yield and grade.
Working closely with OSU plant and soil scientists, the team thoroughly examined the crop, growing it on Oklahoma State University test plots through the state's Agricultural Experiment Station.
It's a typical Spanish variety. It's got good sclerotinia resistance, which is a problem for us in Oklahoma because it costs so much to manage that disease. For example, the fungicide program to control sclerotinia can cost $100 per acre just for sclerotinia, not counting leaf spot and other disease problems that you may have. 9 out of 10 years, a farmer growing a Spanish variety, particularly Olay, can go without a fungicide program for sclerotinia.
All discovered during the testing phase, which underscores an important partnership between the USDA's Agricultural Research Service and the state's land-grant university. The goal? To not only benefit producers and the industry, but to boost the economy as well.
One of the things about the USDA research is that we focus on what the local economy wants. And this new variety, we think, will provide some new options for development of the local economy, both for the southwestern part of the U.S. The USDA program, we take pride in what we do to develop what the growers want. And this is something that the growers have been asking for a number of years.
And that's the story of how Olay was born, so to speak, now to how it was named. Of course, a lot goes into developing any new variety, but we're curious just how the research team came up with the name Olay, with the emphasis on the uppercase O and the uppercase L.
That name was developed by my coworker, Rebecca Bennett, who is the plant pathologist that works for ARS. She works with me, helping, to look at all of these lines along with John. And she's the more creative mind in our group. So she came up with, hey, it's a Spanish peanut, why not Olay? And it's high oleic, so OL for oleic acids.
And the word Olay, it turns out, means a shout of approval in Spanish. Just what the Oklahoma peanut industry is counting on. For more information on Olay, we have a fact sheet on our website, sunup.okstate.edu.
Hi, I'm Al Sutherland with your Mesonet weather report. Wednesday provided a cold slap in the face. A look at the midday air temperatures showed most of the state in the low 40s, the bright blue areas. Winds in those colder areas ranged from a small area of light winds near Ardmore at 4 miles per hour to much higher wind speeds across western and northern Oklahoma in the mid-20s. Hobart was at 32 miles per hour wind speed with a 43 mile per hour wind gust. The wind-driven rain added even more chill. Southwest Oklahoma celebrated rainfall Wednesday. It wasn't a lot, but they were glad to see brighter colors over the southwest on radar. By 3 p.m., the rainfall map showed that Tipton, Granfield, Walters, and Medicine Park had received at least a quarter inch of rain. Unfortunately, this small taste of moisture doesn't change the drought situation. The red areas on our Keetch-Byram drought index are those areas that have and continue to suffer from extreme or exceptional drought. The neutral colored areas are also in need of many inches of rain. Rainfall in the tents is welcome, but falls far short of the rainfall needed. Here's Gary with more on our low precipitation and drought conditions.
Thanks, Al, and good morning, everybody. Certainly great to be back on SUNUP. I've been gone for a little while, but I'm back, and I'm, of course, going to talk about my least favorite subject, which is drought. So let's take a look at the latest U.S. Drought Monitor map released on Thursday and see what we have for Oklahoma. Most of the state is still covered by at least moderate drought or abnormally dry conditions, but we did see a large leap in that D3, D4, which is extreme to exceptional drought, the worst two categories across the western parts of Oklahoma, from Jackson and Harmon counties up into Roger Mills County with the D4 exceptional drought, and then a little over to the east as well. But we also saw that large increase in extreme drought across much of northwestern Oklahoma and the Panhandle. So despite the recent rains, drought's still on the move in Oklahoma. We need a lot more of that rainfall to relieve these drought conditions. Well, the reason for the drought intensification is pretty easy to see if you look at the rainfall maps from the Mesonet. Most of the northwestern half of the state saw less than 3 inches of rain, and then when you get farther to northwest, most of that area saw less than 2 inches, and there's even some places, again in Roger Mills and Ellis counties, that had less than an inch of rainfall, and of course out in the far western Oklahoma Panhandle. And when you look at that same rainfall on the percent of normal map for the same period, all those reds and oranges, they don't end up being good colors. They represent from 60 to less than 20% of normal rainfall over the December 1st through March 25th period. So there's your drought intensification during the winter and into the spring right there. Across much of western Oklahoma and the Panhandle, they look for that drought to persist or intensify at least through the most of the spring and as we enter the summer months. But it's almost time for spring, the really rainy part of the year, so we can definitely have hope to start relieving this drought. That's it for this time. We'll see you next time on the Mesonet Weather Report.
We often think of Oklahoma as a cattle state, but when it comes to livestock, there is another impressive story and a lasting legacy inside this very barn. The lamb Darren Anashot is working with is only a few days old. During spring lambing season, it's all in a day's work at the Oklahoma State University Sheep and Goat Center.
We'll work babies if we need to, tag, band tails, vaccinate. That's just everything that kind of goes into livestock production we try to do on a daily basis. And then we'll feed at night, close the doors up, and go home. And right now we'll come back every couple hours to do lambing checks in the middle of the night.
It's easy to see the barn he works in is aging. There's a fair amount of maintenance to keep it open. It's drafty on this chilly, almost spring day. But this walkway and these stalls stand as a testament not only to what is here now, but to a bygone era.
There's only been 2 people run this sheep barn from 1928 to 2007. I don't know of 2 people that had more of an impact on their species than Alex McKenzie and Bill Crutcher had on the sheep industry during that period of time. They were the 2 preeminent experts in the sheep industry. They were considered easily the top sheep men of their era. And so every young person that worked out here, every young person that judged sheep out here, were really under the tutelage of those 2 people.
Bob Kropp has worked in OSU's Animal Science Department for 41 years. He first met Alex McKenzie at the age of 12 at the Chicago International Livestock Show, the most important show of its kind in the world at the time.
To walk in there and to show lambs against an icon was unbelievable. But he would take you under his wing. He became, like I said, a mentor. And through my high school years and over the next 6 years, I showed right there with him, oftentimes showing some of Oklahoma A&M and Oklahoma State's livestock for him. It was just a very special time.
And a third man, Bob Noble, was also very important to Kropp and many other young people, serving as extension sheep specialist, teaching animal science, and leading the sheep effort at the state fairs in Oklahoma City and Tulsa for many years. During the trio's heyday, the OSU sheep program was nationally renowned for its breeding excellence, producing hundreds of show ring champions in the 60s and 70s, and inspiring a young Bob Kropp to migrate north.
We had the largest purebred sheep operation in the United States at one time, my family. And so we showed lambs throughout the United States and every major show in Texas. And obviously those people were a lot of the judges, but they became literally icons and mentors to me.
If you walk through this barn, you can still see pieces of Alex McKenzie, and you can certainly still see pieces of Bill Crutcher. And, you know, it almost gives me chills at times, and I know that may sound corny, but, you know, when you walk through here and you realize the tradition that's been behind this whole place, and, you know, a tradition of excellence. It really does mean something to me, and it's something I do think about every day, and I try to continue that.
And no doubt they inspired thousands of others. That's why on this workday, Darren Anashot has an added duty: carefully placing 3 names on the chairbacks at the university's animal science arena: Alex McKenzie, Robert Noble, and Bill Crutcher. A hall of fame, a legacy, and a way to honor just how much these men truly mean to the profession, their students, and the livestock industry. Joining us now is Jerry Fitch, our extension sheep specialist here at OSU, to talk a little bit about the sheep industry in Oklahoma. Jerry, let's start with an overview of the business here and kind of how it's changing the last few years.
It has been changing. We've got a fairly strong sheep industry today. In the past, we've always had lots of ewes being lambed out on wheat pasture and going to our spring or Easter markets. We're seeing more and more hair sheep come into the state and utilizing our warm season grasses in the summertime. So instead of lambing when it's cold in October through February, we're lambing in April and May. going through the summer on Bermuda grass and seeing lambs do really, really well. The good part about those hair ewes is they're very heat tolerant, they're very parasite resistant, so it really has worked very well. So we're seeing more and more hair ewes and less of our Rambouillet Dorset cross ewes that we've always had in the past.
And why do you think we're seeing some of those changes? What are the factors behind that?
Well, I think cattle prices are very strong, and so they're putting every steer they can on wheat pasture, and we're seeing less ewes on wheat pasture for that reason. And because of the weather conditions and the fact that hair ewes are really taking off in the U.S., it's just a parasite control, and handling the warmth or the hot, humid conditions we have in the summer works really well for those ewes.
In terms of economics and the money side of the sheep business, what's the picture there?
Today, it's very strong. We are a very small industry. Because of that, we don't have the same controls or potential that we have in the cattle industry to go ahead and put futures contracts on them. And so basically there's a higher risk, but there's also a very high reward. Lamb prices are extremely good right now. We're seeing our 11, 12-month-old old crop lambs, as you might say, bring $1.40 to $1.50 a pound. We're seeing our young springers bring almost $2 a pound as far as market weight lambs. So extremely good right now.
And of course, we can't talk about the sheep industry in Oklahoma without talking about livestock showing and sheep and lambs. It's really a way of life for a lot of families, isn't it?
You bet. On both sides. We have a lot of families that show lambs, and that's their family sport. That's what they love to do. It's a great thing for a family to do together. And on top of that, we have a lot of individuals, as in ranchers and farmers, that are strictly raising show lambs. So it's a very strong industry from a show lamb production standpoint in the state of Oklahoma also. With the Oklahoma Youth Expo being the largest junior livestock show in the nation, and the numbers of sheep we have in the state, the numbers of animals that junior livestock exhibitors have, it's a tremendous opportunity for those kids.
And Oklahoma's on the map as a result.
Definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Jerry Fitch, our Extension Sheep Specialist, thanks a lot.
Appreciate it.
I've always thought that this time frame in late winter, early spring is one of the toughest in terms of nutritional management of spring calving beef cows. Why do I think that? Well, it's a time when, after a long, hard winter, we're beginning to run short of hay supplies. In many cases, the pastures that the cows have been grazing have been grazed down to where there's very little left. The quality of the warm season grasses that they're on, such as native or Bermuda grass pastures at this time of the year, is extremely low, and the cows just can't get much energy or certainly protein out of those grasses. And quite frankly, after a long winter, our patience may be running just a little bit thin. We're a little tired of feeding all during the winter. However, this is a critical time from the standpoint of the physiology of these cows. We have to keep them in good body condition through the calving process and those 60 to 90 days between calving and the start of the breeding season, when green grass will show up to help those cows get some nutrition in that way. Research done here at Oklahoma State University shows us what will happen if we don't continue to get some hay and some energy feed in front of these cows at this time of the year. You see, what they looked at was a set of beef cows that were in good body condition at the start of the winter, about a midpoint 5 in our 1 through 9 scale. They fed all these cows to maintain that body condition into the calving season. And again, they calved at about that same 5.4 average body condition score. Half of the cows then were fed to maintain that body condition into the start of the breeding season. The other half were allowed to lose 1 full body condition score in that next 60 days. As they followed those cows through the upcoming breeding season, what they found was that the cows that maintained body condition rebred at a very acceptable 94% clip. Those that were allowed to lose a condition score fell off by 21%. Only 73% of those cows rebred. That's a tremendous difference. So that tells me that even though hay may be short, we have to purchase some. the energy protein supplements that we have to go to the store to buy here at the last minute to continue to get some supplement into those cows, again, may be expensive, but it's very, very important that we continue those cows on a solid plan of nutrition to where they don't lose body condition and we get that good breed up as we go through the breeding season. When we come time to sell those calves the following fall, having that extra 21% available for sale should more than cover the price of the hay and the supplement that we're going to have to purchase in order to make sure those cows maintain body condition. Let's do that this year. We'll thank ourselves the following fall at sale time. And we look forward to visiting with you again next week on SUNUP's Cow-Calf Corner.
Joining us once again for the latest in the grain markets is Kim Anderson. Kim, this week Kansas City saw a $1.95 rally in wheat. What's going on there?
Well, you can go back to February the 3rd when Kansas City July contract price was right at $6. It peaked out this last week at $7.94.5, backed off about 30 cents to $7.71, and then came back up a dime to about $7.78. If you look at that contract right now, it's tracking between $7.60 and $8. If it pops through that 8, then it's got a little resistance at 8.10. We break 8.10, you just don't know where it's going to go. If it breaks that 760 on the bottom side, in other words, if we get some moisture, then it's liable to run down to around that 710, 718 level.
All right, so what's the excuse for that 20-cent back off?
Well, the analysts basically said the excuse was the moisture that we received in some of the hard red winter wheat areas. Moisture right now is going to drive wheat prices. If you listen to some analysts, they're still talking about what's going over in the Ukraine, but that's having little impact. Right now, the moisture is driving this wheat market.
If we're going to forward contract, what's the forward contract for in wheat right now?
Well, it's about 40 to 45 cents off that July contract, so that'll put you down around 735 to 740 if you want a forward contract wheat for harvest delivery.
All right, so what if we're going to forward contract, say, corn Milo?
Well, those are bid off the Chicago corn contract, the December contract. Right now, corn can be forward contracted for 38 to 33 cents below that contract. Milo 49 to 44 below the contract. Or you're looking for around $4.50 for the corn and around $4.40 for the Milo for harvest delivery.
All right, now next week we've got a big report coming out. What are we expecting there?
Well, you're going to have the stocks report and the planted acres report. The stocks report will probably drive the market more than the planted acres. On corn, for benchmark on planted acres, it's 92.75 million acres compared to about 95.37 last year. Wheat at 56.3 million acres compared to 56.2, so slightly up. Soybeans up dramatically, 81.1 million acres versus 76.5 last year. So traditionally, you get some relatively large moves in corn and soybeans off this market. If we get large moves in either one of those, then it could have spillover impact on wheat.
All right, sounds like we've got plenty to keep an eye on. Kim Anderson, Grain Marketing Specialist here at Oklahoma State University.
What's in a hot dog? The age-old notion that hot dogs are full of lips and snouts and eyeballs can easily be debunked. Probably first and foremost and most importantly is the USDA and the FDA have laws established that are very old laws that indicate ingredients must be stated on a label. So if you're curious about what's in a hot dog or even, for example, a sandwich deli meat like bologna, the first step is to look at the ingredient statement. And all of the ingredients are spelled out in there for you. Now, in today's commercial manufacturing, it is not uncommon to source each of those ingredients individually and blend those into a product that is consistent and uniform in its color and appearance and texture. The question of what's in a hot dog oftentimes is more exciting than the answer itself, because it is quite simple. Simply, it's going to be meat trimmings from beef or pork or poultry, chicken and turkey, and then a host of non-meat ingredients, as we refer to them, for adding flavor and texture and juiciness and color. I have some of these ingredients laid out here. Many of these ingredients are very common to what's common in your kitchen. Things like salt, spices, corn syrup, Sodium lactate or potassium lactate, that serves as an antimicrobial agent. And probably the most unknown and most questioned ingredient in these would be sodium nitrite and sodium erythorbate. These are curing ingredients. These give hot dogs and bologna and other cured processed meats their distinctive pink color. They actually serve a very important food safety, or they contribute very importantly to food safety in the control of Clostridium botulinum, or botulism. So these meat trimmings and these non-meat ingredients and water are blended, ground, chopped, and often we refer to that as emulsified, chopped all the way down to a consistency that might be similar to a pancake batter, and then stuffed into what we call a casing. This is a cellulose casing. This is a very long casing, about 100 feet long. These hot dogs are stuffed into this casing through a machine, twisted and linked, stuffed and twisted, and the process is very automated. And then finally they're smoked and cooked and packaged, and they end up at your retail counter or at the baseball park or at a summertime picnic. So if you're curious about what's in a hot dog, don't let the old notion scare you. Very straightforward ingredients, meat trimmings, a few spices and other non-meat ingredients, a little smoke and a little heat, and you have perhaps America's all-time favorite summertime meal, at least, a hot dog.
That'll do it for us this week. Remember, you can find us anytime online at sunup.okstate.edu. You can also follow us on YouTube and other social media. I'm Lyndall Stout. Have a great week, everyone, and we'll see you next time at SUNUP.